I always had the dream to open my own business in my country.
Recoge tu cosita que te va, que te va.
Yeah, yeah.
Rarely do we get to see a country change course, especially if there isn't a war. But here in Cuba, we're witnessing that, at least an attempt at it.
Once again.
To me, this is one of the most interesting parts of Cuba's startup scene. In the US, we take for granted that services exist to support our entrepreneurial endeavors. But here, the government has run everything, so before this, there hasn't been a need for accounting firms, marketing agencies, or just businesses to teach people how to run a business. So we're going to go talk with these powerhouse entrepreneurs who are pioneering modern advertising and starting the first accounting firms and marketing agencies. They're starting new businesses to support the new businesses. If they succeed in creating a solid infrastructure, these entrepreneurs will leave a lasting legacy on this country. And the amazing thing is that many of them are still in their 20s.
Once again.
Okay, let's start with advertising. But before we meet Robin, a 20-something that could be credited with launching the modern advertising movement in Cuba, we should get a sense of what has been Cuba's norm for decades. Since the state controls the media, there has been no private advertising on television or radio or newspapers or billboards. While we've grown up with 5,000 ads a day, Cubans have had a totally different story.
Once again.
I remember when I was a kid, I saw like some advertisement on the road. But in the 90s, all the advertisement disappeared, just political advertisement. This is why I create Start to promote business, to promote new ideas.
The magazine that Robin created to showcase advertising is now one of the most culturally influential magazines in Cuba. But even still, it's the ads that people continue to be drawn to.
Some people don't talk to me about the content, about the interviews that we spend a lot of time. Sometimes they just talk about the ads.
I asked Robin if he's concerned that advertising is going to negatively affect Cuba.
Maybe we are a little bit afraid about to have too many advertisements like Latin America or New York, but I believe that in a society that needs to grow and needs to make an evolution, we need advertisement.
Robin has teamed up with a renowned Cuban photographer named Luis Mario. Together, they're working to develop advertising in a way that is unique to Cuba.
Nosotros venimos de una formación muy social, socialista, donde los valores son importantes y creo que para la publicidad es importante tener en cuenta los valores. Nosotros, por ejemplo, compartimos con sociólogos, con personas que entienden la mentalidad del cubano y conocerlo a la hora de elaborar una publicidad que no ofenda a nadie, que tampoco genere un problema social.
And here's another thing. Not only are they being creative in the way they're approaching advertising, they've had to be ingenious about how the advertising is distributed. See, it's illegal to print a non-government sanctioned magazine, so they've made it digital. But since most people don't access the internet, it's delivered on what is called the weekly package. It's Cuba's version of the internet, but it's all offline and delivered to people each week on hard drives.
3 years ago, there's nothing about apps, about many websites that you can find right now. So I believe that Start inspired people to develop new ideas because probably they thought, wow, in Cuba, we are not allowed to make this, or if they made Start, why we cannot make this idea?
I go talk with another extraordinary entrepreneur creating first here in Cuba. Her name is Marta, and she's also in her 20s. She's started multiple businesses here, including a digital magazine for entrepreneurs and one of the first accounting firms.
It was very difficult at the beginning because people were not used to this kind of financial services or accounting services. They didn't feel the need of pay another person to provide this kind of service. But little by little they realized that it was very useful. They needed to organize their accounting. They need to pay the taxes.
I was curious what the top tax bracket is here.
You have a progressive tax that starts with 10% until 50%. If you earn more than $2,000 more or less, you have to pay 50%. Yeah.
While a $2,000 annual salary seems impossible to live on, it's more than those who work for the state. Much more. Marta says that ultimately everyone is benefiting from this surge of entrepreneurs.
It's a sector that is growing. The amount of taxes that the government is taking from this sector is very big. We are now like 500,000 cuentapropistas, and I hope this is going to continue.
These agencies are building the infrastructure that is forming the ecosystem to prop these startups up. They're playing a vital role in this entire space.
I speak with one of the founders of the first marketing agency helping create this ecosystem. Suselmis tells me that one of the biggest challenges is navigating the online world in Cuba.
Sabemos que en el mundo la tendencia es todo al marketing digital, es al internet. O sea, si no estás en internet no existes, pero esa no es la realidad del mercado cubano. El internet hoy se está abriendo y sí estamos trabajando, por ejemplo, a todos nuestros clientes les estamos sugiriendo que ya tengan presencia en las redes porque el mercado cubano se está adaptando de manera acelerada, pero en paralelo tienen que trabajar mucho en la comunicación offline.
Since the private sector is so new here, Suselmis is working with clients who haven't had to think about customer reviews before.
Si te pongo un mal comentario en TripAdvisor, en Facebook, en Airbnb, no sé, pues este boca a boca es enorme.
And yet there are limitations to what these entrepreneurs can do. As I've been here talking with entrepreneurs throughout this series, reality on the ground has continued to shift. Recently, the government has stopped issuing new business licenses. Perhaps they'll resume soon, or not. Yet, even in the middle of the uncertainty, these entrepreneurs refuse to lose hope.
Yo creo que es un buen momento para emprender en Cuba y para ser parte de un cambio y de una época diferente que va a marcar el camino del país, y ser protagonistas en ese momento es algo increíble para nosotros hoy.
And Cubans, they give a little and we make it big. We are very entrepreneur people, we make it.
If these startups are successful, it's going to put money into the economy, it's going to open new gates, and that's why this is so important that these startups succeed and make their mark on this country. You add their ability to just figure anything out, because that's what they've had to do for the last 60 years, they're going to kick ass.